Securing Privacy in Tumultuous Times, 2020. Kim Green, Valtis Lad, Privacy Test Driver. People are tracking you. People are gathering information about you. You should be aware of your privacy and data security. You should be in control of your destiny. Data destiny. Personal privacy is personal information protected from public scrutiny, or the right to be left alone. Community privacy weighs public gain versus private harm. You create data, and data is created about you. Privacy protects freedoms. Whether you are promoting health in your community, or you are restructuring your community, or you are participating in your community, you need to be the one in control of your information. We'll start with health in your community, or COVID contact tracing. Contact tracing is not new to COVID-19. It has been used successfully to stop the spread of Ebola, H1N1, HIV, measles, SARS, syphilis, and tuberculosis. You identify infected carriers, identify the people that carriers have been in contact with, either directly or near them for a sufficient amount of time, and you check the contacts to make sure that they are know about available care. Based on preliminary research by Johns Hopkins University, we don't have enough live contact tracers to support full epidemiologic capacity, as documented in the 2017 Epidemiology Capacity Survey. We are not allocated enough budget money to hire live tracers. So there's another option. There's an app for that. In addition to having live people doing contact tracking, there have now been apps doing contact tracking. There are different models in different areas. So please be aware that there are differences between them. Viruses don't care about borders, but you do care about your privacy. A downloadable app for your smartphone would fall under one of two different models. A centralized model tracks your particular device and other devices nearby. The phone generates a code for your database. Data moves up to the server for processing. The server compares your phone information and your neighbor's phone's information, and data goes back from the server to your smartphone. And the server goes and sends out contact alerts to other phones nearby as needed. This database is controlled by people who put out the app or their designated person. The decentralized model does not track devices. The phone generates an anonymous code of the database that it maintains. It has a database of all anonymous codes, including its. It compares itself to the database and then sends out contact alerts. Location tracking is very pervasive. BlueLeaks revealed that has been location tracking in 24 years or more. Documents include names, emails, information, pictures, financials. Users coming through BlueLeaks dataset have identified multiple security alerts and law enforcement guides as recent as June 2020. The alerts contain instructions and points of focus for U.S. police forces involved in the Black Lives Matter protests in the U.S., and includes frank internal memos about police efforts to track activities of protesters. FBI monitored social accounts of protesters and sent alerts to local law enforcement. FBI has tracked Bitcoin donations to protest groups, and internal memos warned that white supremacist groups have posed as Antifa to incite violence. Documents include information about victims and witnesses to domestic violence and are identified by name and distinguishing details, including minors, children. There have been a request from an officer investigating harassing emails sent to a female student at college. The submission included a list of preliminary suspects given to the officer by the victim, and notes that she spoke at a women's march. Another request includes a statement from a care provider for veterans who complained of harassment. The submission included the names, addresses, and mental health diagnoses of a client and the client's partner. There was a request from FBI asking for all incidents which involve someone known or believed to be a sovereign citizen in order to provide data points for domestic terrorism tracking. Other leaks include criminal incident reports and suspicious activity reports, which also include similar sensitive information. Data needs to be only collected as necessary. It needs to be stored safely and securely. If you collect it, you are responsible for where it goes and what it does, who it gets shared with, who uses it, and how long it is stored for. DDoS Secrets concedes that they may not show illegal behavior on part of police, but the group argues that documents instead reveal legal but controversial practices, as well as the tone of police discussions around groups. Preliminary analysis of data contained in leaks suggests that NetSentinel, a web services company used by multiple fusion centers, law enforcement, and government agencies across the U.S., was compromised. NetSentinel confirms that this is likely a result of a threat actor who used a customer user account and the web platform. BlueLeaks set was released on June 19th, also known as Juneteenth, the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of ending of slavery in the United States. 200 police departments, fusion centers, and law enforcement training and support offices, police and FBI reports, bulletins, guides, and more. The data dump contains emails and associated attachments, personal identifiable information, and pictures of suspects. But it's not just law enforcement. Location tracking is all over the place. From the tagging of photos in different places on social media, checking into hotels and cafes, we tend to forget that we leave a clear online footprint of our activities. Even if you disable location tracking services in your settings and your apps and on your accounts, your device is still leaving a digital breadcrumb trail that is being logged by your cell phone service provider and internet service provider. There have been incidents related to an app that allowed a law enforcement agency to track a user's location in real time, which would otherwise require a court order. You can disable location tracking in Windows 10 by going to Settings, Privacy, Location, Change, and Location for this device to Off. For Apple Mac OS, you go to Significant Locations, System Preferences, Security and Privacy, Privacy tab, Location Services. If Enables Location Services is grayed out, then click on the lock and enter your password to prove that you are in fact you. Details and Significant Locations, Details again, and Clear History. When you turn off location history, Google stops automatically recording your location for features such as maps, but warns you that some location data may be saved as part of your activity in other Google services like search. When you perform a search or access Google Maps or get the weather, either manually or through a smartphone widget, Google still logs your location. To prevent it from doing so, you need to do that in web and app activity. Social media data mining. You are researched. Your friends keep an eye on you. Any potential employer will go ahead and look at you. Law enforcement looks at you. BlueLeaks shows that police departments and federal law enforcement agencies exchanged information about protesters from social media. They monitored Facebook, information from Slack, and messaging apps like Telegram. Also, companies can create targeted ads and recommendations based on your location. But these large amounts of detailed information gathered by your use of social media by these companies is very disconcerting, since there's no guarantee that they will handle the data responsibly. If you are a Facebook app power user, you can take advantage of the check-in feature and tools that require use of your location tracking, but for most people, the average user, this setting is an invasion of privacy. So you should go and disable location tracking in Facebook. If you disable location tracking, Facebook says that it uses your whereabouts to serve advertisements in news, weather reports, marketplace, and let people find you and your nearby friends. But even if it's not you posting, you are still located by other people checking in and tagging posts and pictures about you, and from your device's IP address. If you decide to clear out your posts, make sure that you back things up before cleaning things out. But remember, use third-party tools at your own risk, because you're giving them access to your social media. Facebook now has a bulk delete tool so that you can clean up your posts. You put things into the recycle bin, where it's basically deleted, but it allows you to recover them for 30 days and then they're gone. If you need to recover them before your 30 days are up, you can go into the recycle bin and restore them. If you archive them, then you hide them from everyone else except you. Twitter does not have a bulk delete tool. You need to delete them one by one. You get a confirmation that it's gone, but there is no way to restore deleted tweets. Instagram has an option where you can do story posts, which only last 24 hours and then are automatically deleted. Facebook has now started using this, so you can go ahead and post to your news feed, where you have to worry about it being saved, or you can post to your story, where it again is saved for 24 hours and then gone. If you're not using things on your story, you can delete things from Instagram by tapping on your dots and clicking delete. This is only available in the apps for Android and iOS, not the web interface. You can archive them the same way that you can on Facebook, so that you can see them, but no one else can. You might choose to completely hide your information based on your account. So you might want to delete location information stored by Microsoft. You need to go to two places: account.microsoft.com/privacy to view and clear your location activity. You also need to worry about where they do advertising at choice.microsoft.com. In Apple, you can disable the GPS tracking feature on your phone. If you do this, law enforcement can still track you, but other apps, including the Family Locator, cannot. If you do this, Google Maps and Apple Maps will still work, but you can't get directions because there is no here for them to give you directions from here to there. There was an iPhone 11 chip, but after users complained about iPhone 11 and iPhone 11 Pro tracking location, even when location services have been turned off, now Apple has added a new option in iOS 13. to disable the ultra-band UI chip. It uses ultra-wideband radio that provides location and spatial awareness so that equipment can detect its exact location relative to other devices in the same room. It's very handy for when you're using AirDrop and other apps. You could disable things in Google Chrome or Google tracking for any particular device. You may want to use safe browsing. There is private or in private browsing where it specifically launches a tab or window for doing it in private. This does not save your browsing information on that device, so temporary files and web session cookies are not saved, but this has absolutely nothing to stop your service provider, your cellular service provider, or your internet service provider from tracking your information. You can use the Onion browser or Tor, which anonymizes your data path through proxy servers, but this information is not encrypted, so anybody can read the information as it bounces around unless you encrypt it. So we do recommend that you consider encryption or using a VPN in addition to these methods. There is widespread public monitoring, including facial recognition. Facial algorithms can be up to 90% inaccurate for people of color because algorithms need accurate samples to learn. And then law enforcement needs training to interpret this. So currently a nationwide debate is raging about this. Across the country, people are protesting not just the actions of individuals, but bias in the systems used to surveil communities and identify people for prosecution. Facial recognition systems have been used by police forces for more than 2 decades. Studies by MIT and National Institute for Standards and Technology, or NIST, have found that while the technology works well, the results are less accurate for minor demographics, in part because lack of diversity for the images to develop the databases. Last year, during a public hearing about the use of facial recognition in Detroit, an assistant police chief was among those who raised concerns. On the question of false positives, meaning you are incorrectly classed as somebody. On the question of false positives, that is absolutely factual and well documented, James White said. So that concerns me as an African American male. Earlier this summer, Amazon, Microsoft, and IBM announced they would stop or pause their facial recognition offerings for law enforcement. But this is a largely symbolic gesture given that companies are not very big in providing services. The technology police departments use is supplied mostly by other companies that aren't regular household names, such as Vigilant Solutions, Cognitech, NEC, Rank 1 Computing, and Clearview AI. Claire Garvey, a lawyer at Georgetown University's Center on Privacy and Technology, has written about problems with government's use of facial recognition. She argues that low-quality search images, such as a still picture from a grainy surveillance video, should be banned, and that systems currently in use should be rigorously tested for accuracy and bias. In Michigan, the DataWorks software used by state police incorporates components by NEC and Rank 1. In 2019, algorithms from both companies were included in a federal study of over 100 facial recognition systems that found they were biased, falsely identifying African American and Asian faces 10 to 100 times more than Caucasian faces. Facial recognition is already being used for applications ranging from unlocking phones to law enforcement. Despite advances, it's come under fire for bias. In one searching database given to find a certain face, most of them picked incorrect images among black women significantly higher rates than they did other demographics. Biometrics is identifying and authenticating individuals through the use of unique biological characteristics, information particular physically to you. Voice recognition, the pattern of how you type for keystroke dynamics, how you walk for gait analysis, the pattern and timing for signature analysis, cognitive biometrics, and mouse use characteristics. Note that a password is not biometrics. While it may be unique, it requires software to set up, and anyone can guess your password and log into your account. When you secure an account with biometrics, the person who secured it can unlock it because it's a combination of hardware and software. Biometric is never stored as a password and is convenient for faster login. It has been discovered that there are some ways to hack facial recognition. So, biometrics don't add as much security as they appear to, and developers will continue to rely on username and password security for the near future. Unlike biometric information, passwords are changeable in the event of a cyber attack. Additionally, passwords remain essential to your physical account. Passwords are personal but ultimately changeable and meaningless without the username. Biometrics, much more intimate. It's personal in a way that even embarrassing screen names and passwords never can be. You can't change your face or fingerprints. Currently, the best solution is a strong password on a zero-knowledge product. Many companies are experimenting with the idea of using tech to monitor their employees that make traditional surveillance cameras outdated. There is optional microchipping in use, implanted in the same way that chipping pets is. It's a small chip inserted under the skin of the hand. You can be used then to badge into a workplace, log into your computer, get snacks from a vending machine, open and close doors, you operate the engine of a vehicle, and determine whether a seatbelt is buckled. It can be used as a means to access medical records and financial transactions. But the ambiguity surrounding microchip technology leaves employees vulnerable. So several states have responded by considering legislation to protect individual rights. So far, 5 states, California, Missouri, North Dakota, Oklahoma, and Wisconsin, have formally adopted statutes addressing this. The Fourth Amendment is a cornerstone of privacy law, specifically regarding the individual's right to be secure in their person against unreasonable search and seizure. Privacy law is not only rooted in American tradition, but common law. This protects 4 types of privacy interests: intrusion upon seclusion, public disclosure of private fact, publicly placing a person in a false light, and misappropriation of a person's name or likeness. Consent is an affirmative defense, making it extremely difficult for an employee to bring a cause of action. If you permit a thing to happen, you are therefore limited what you can do after. While determining a reasonable expectation of privacy, the Supreme Court recognized that an employee may not have reasonable expectation of privacy if it's an employer's non-investigatory work-related purpose. So the fact that equipment and chips is employer-owned, not employee and personally owned, is not determinative of whether an employee has a right to privacy. So without clear guidance, these questions are up in the air and will lead to litigation and possible erosion of privacy rights. So please be aware of who's using what, and whenever possible, make informed decisions. The Internet of Things. We recommend that you cover your webcam when it is not in use specifically by you. There is malware out there that can turn on your camera and record without an indicator light, so that you're being recorded either with sound or camera without you being aware. Anything which connects to the internet can be compromised, and things which are small and simple don't have enough processing power and memory to have good security on them. So again, be aware of what you're doing and where you're doing it, and check into the security for it, if possible, before you do it. You can check at Have I Been Pwned to see if you have an account that's been compromised in a data breach. You should have a unique, secure password for every place that you log in. Don't reuse the same password all over the place because it's easy for you to remember. If it's easy for you to remember, it's easy for someone else to guess. It's easy to be hacked. There are password managers that you can use to help you remember these things or to remember them for you. So you now have a new superpower. Data destiny. Control your destiny. Control your privacy and data security. Thank you.